Good morning, everybody. Welcome to class 4 of the beauty of brushwork, painting clouds, trees, and water. We are on week 2 of focus on the trees, and we are going to continue with looking for their external shape, kind of their silhouette, looking for balance, looking for gesture, and looking for movement. And by using those things, looking for the very personality of the different types of trees. You can find some videos online on YouTube and stuff that will walk you through how to paint, literally how to paint pine trees, apple trees, a whole birch trees, and a whole line of them. I don't want to spend time going through each different type of tree and how to represent them. I would rather teach you guys and talk about how to look at trees and recognize them and look for what makes them them. What is their innate shape, what's their big overarching form, and then how do we break that up, make it interesting, and give it movement. So that's what we're going to be focusing on when we get to the second and third portion of the class. So if you guys got an email from me this morning, I hope, with links to the Padlet and links to Zoom and everything else. There's a couple images on there, and we're going to go ahead and right away. Well, actually, I do have a quick question for you guys. So part 1 is going to be critiques and feedback real quickly here. Part 2, I was thinking that we would look through paintings by master artists and other artists and living artists and some of my friends, like we normally do. But I'm kind of open to, if you guys would rather have more demonstrations today. I actually have a panel that I have painted gold with gold gesso. I've shown a little bit about that in the past, but never demoed working on that. I know some people were curious about that. Maybe I can load a couple images so you can see and maybe help us to make a decision. But working on gold gesso is just kind of a fun, interesting bonus thing.
Demo.
So I was thinking I could either show a demonstration of me painting some trees on that, or would you rather learn and look at a whole bunch of masters paintings and how they worked on trees themselves? And then part 3 would be me doing black and white acrylic, just to show that too. I've got a couple of acrylic painters in the group here, and just showing that. And it's a really quick way for me to, just like the wipe away, it's another way to kind of get into the painting really quickly. And then for the second part, oh my gosh, what a full class. The second part of the third, the final part, would be actually bringing color into the painting that we did last week, or I did, the wipe away demo. I think a couple people mentioned that they'd like to see me take that painting to the next level, which would be adding opacity and the different colors to that tonalist painting that I built last time. So we've got some decisions to make as we get started here. So let's go ahead.
Demos.
I'm sorry?
I vote for demo.
I vote for demo too.
Does anybody not want the demo? Okay, well, that makes that easy. Great. We're going to go. Thank you, guys. So that'll be fun. We will hop over to, I'm going to do the screen share and get us over to our classroom Padlet, where you guys are sharing your beautiful paintings and everything else. We're just going to do a very quick walkthrough. Everybody sees the Padlet page here, the beauty of brushwork?
Yes.
Thank you guys for those of you who were able to join me when I did the painting demo with Eric Rhodes. And
that was great. You did so good.
I was so nervous, and then the cameras wouldn't work and everything went down. Oh my gosh. But it was fun. I think
very professional, very well planned, and very excellent delivery.
Oh, thank you. You guys have given me a lot of practice. Yeah, it was nerve-wracking, but I'm nervous before class too. Literally, like the minutes between 8:40 and 8:45 are always kind of rough each week, because I'm, going through my brain. Have I got everything? Do I need anything else? But anyways, once we get talking, once I see your guys' happy, shiny faces, everything seems to fall back into place, and it's a lot of fun. So anyways, thank you. And if you haven't seen it, there's the replay right there. So you can watch that. Here's last week's painting sessions. And this is the painting that I will do the color over if you guys are interested in that.
Yes.
Yes,
Class-
yes.
Okay, who was that? Sorry, I'm not seeing everybody. Great. All right. We've got the class handout about trees there. Again, please review that if you guys don't mind, especially these 4 areas down here at the bottom. Getting back to that, great reminders. There's my email. All right, really quick references that I added here. Again, this is a photo that I took and I really like, and I may think about doing this one as one of the black and whites. I don't know. It's pretty
Yes,
dang
super.
intimidating.
Super.
Super. Yeah, it's nice, but I think maybe a little 8x10, that might be a little small. I did go ahead and, let's do this. So here's my painting. I'm sorry, my photo. Here is a painting by an amazing artist out of the Carmel, Brian Blood. I really like his work. I was actually lucky enough to get one of his paintings last year, and his wife's painting, Lori Kersey. She's amazing as well. Really great painters. But anyways, I thought it's always kind of fun to see, like how similar the lighting conditions and everything else. Yeah. So anyways, grab that. This is not one of my photos, so if you do paint from it, just don't sell it. I don't know the photographer, and I don't know how to spell photo evidently either. This font is not by me and maybe copyrighted. But it's beautiful, and I'm always looking at photos as well as paintings from other artists to get inspiration and ideas. So I went ahead and grabbed that and one other. Again, this font is also photo is not by me and may be copyrighted. I love this. I just love, bright pink colors, but look at the beautiful subtlety and grayed down nature of them. So it's just kind of fun to see, and I guess I didn't grab any really bright ones. They're both kind of atmospheric, but then I went ahead and grabbed a number of paintings by other artists, and you guys can go through these and look at these and analyze them. Peter Bezukov, I guess, I don't know is how to say his name, but I really like his work. Look at it quite a bit. He and Bato, B-A-T-O, are 2 of my favorite painters from that region. Rick Stevens, I thought you guys may enjoy looking at his work. It's almost messy, but at the same time delicate and beautiful, and there's just a really beautiful energy, and I love the finished off areas with the not finished off areas. So really quickly, a couple paintings by Olga Abramova. Really, she's, I think, more of a pastelist typically, but really beautiful. Look at these shapes and just see how the artists are looking for the personality and the movement and the forms and the shapes. And I figured I would grab some of those because of the fact that spring is coming. Believe it or not, someday, eventually, spring will be here. Anyways, so I just grabbed a couple other artists that I really like. Dan Schultz is wonderful for looking at color temperatures. David Sharp is just one of my favorite living painters right now. I look at his work all the time. There's just so much poetry to me in his work. He and Bato, B-A-T-O again, are 2 of the artists that I look to for less is more. How do you capture the energy? How do you capture the essence? I definitely am not there, but I very much appreciate it. And I don't know if I'll ever go there. It's not really my work, but there's just something in the poetry. You know what I mean? I grabbed a couple of Oscar Droiga's woodblock prints, which I really like, his work, and then started getting into some Japanese stuff. Again, getting back to the blossoms here. These are plum blossoms, Japanese woodblock prints. I adore these, just adore them. The simplicity, yet, complication, looking at the form, the movement, the twisting and turning. Remember when I talked about just giving personality like a dancer or like a, just looking at the gesture, the movement. So there's just so many places we can take inspiration, photos, watercolorists, woodblock print painters, really quickly. And then I'm going to stop. I'm just going to show you again. There's a lot. I grabbed a bunch of Monets, Brent Cotton, one of my favorite painters, Mark Bonnet, a whole bunch of stuff for you guys to look through. So please take the time to get over there and look. I almost didn't get a shower in this morning because I was so busy throwing all these up there. So make it worth my time. Again, we talked about Mark Hansen's painting last week. Just, I mean, gorgeous. And just the personality and movement. So much envy. Some of them I don't know, have the names on, and I apologize. I think this one's Chauncey Ryder, Australian painter. This is also an Australian painter. I can't remember his name. I think I have it up above. But anyways, Tom Thompson, amazing Canadian painter, part of the group of 7. He would be the 8th member of Canadian 7. There's Chauncey Ryder again. Kevin Courtier, got one of his got one of his paintings up behind me here. And I just wanted to very quickly show you Anton Pavlenko's Evolution of Trees. So Anton Pavlenko is a really good friend of mine. We paint together often. We show at Dragonfire Gallery. When I very first met him, this is what he was showing at Dragonfire Gallery. He did a whole series of these looking up into the birch trees. Very beautiful, very interesting. It's funny now, you'll see a whole bunch of people have kind of copied him because this was about 20 years ago that he was doing this, not that long ago, 15 years ago that he was doing this. He got pretty good reputation as it was selling well, and for whatever reason got tired of it, stopped doing it completely. He almost doesn't want any reminders that this exists. So if you ever meet him and he makes you angry, just bring up these paintings. And here is one. 2 of the paintings that I grabbed in this selection are actually paintings I was with him when he painted. So this is out at Sauvie Island. We sat side by side. It's the very first time we ever painted together. And the gallery, Dragonfire Gallery, had asked me to take him under my wing. He's approximately like 8 to 10 years younger than I am. It kind of makes me feel old when all of a sudden the galleries are like, "Can you help this young guy?" But set him straight. But going out with him the first time, I was like, "Holy cow, this kid can paint. He's awesome." I've talked about him in other classes, about his dedication and his focus. He is the reason that I write a journal about my paintings. When he goes out, he does his thumbnail sketches as well as writing about what is interesting. What's the focus? Why am I drawn to this kind of a thing? And I watched him just grow and grow and grow so quickly that I was like, okay, well, he's definitely doing something right. Because I would be into my painting about a third of the way painting before he would even start, because he would be writing and doing all these thumbnail sketches. And then he would all of a sudden just fly past me with his paintings. He paints very, very quickly, you'll see, very thick and very juicy. Beautiful paintings. I was with him when he did this one as well.
Nice.
And this is actually really quite big. I think this might be 3 foot by 3 foot, or even 4 foot by 4 foot. I have photos of him painting out there, but it's just a joy to watch him paint. He's really good with color, and he attacks it. It's just wet into wet with thick paint. I mean, some of his paintings can be about a ½ an inch to almost an inch thick, and that is not an exaggeration at all. But it's been fun to watch his evolution as he just begins to analyze and play. And I mean, he paints so much that he's willing to really take some crazy chances and do some really interesting things. I've got, a number of friends that are really willing to take chances, really willing to step out of what people expect and get uncomfortable. And I just love it. I know that can be tough for sales. That can be tough for your, relationships with galleries, but he does it and he goes for it. And he and I had a late night, a couple friends. We were out at the coast painting for a week. And one night we stayed up, drank some wine and talked. And he said something that was so interesting to me at about this point, I think, in his career a couple of years ago. He just said, you know what? It's not even about the image as much anymore for me. Now it's about the quality of the paint. And I thought, wow, that is so cool. Like, I do think about the quality a little bit, but not to the point that it's about the paint. It's about the application of the paint as much as the subject, as much as the design. And I thought that was just a really interesting thing. And it's funny to see how artists go down these different paths and rabbit holes and pursuits and everything else. And so I found that really interesting. And look at what this is probably about 2 years old now. And he just really, he also even got into an abstract gallery in Bend, Oregon. And so it gave him, like, he found an outlet for these paintings at other galleries that show his work. Were like, I don't know what to do with that, Anton. So he found a way. Instead of letting the galleries talk him out of his experiments and his playfulness, he just found another gallery. So he's still doing the more representational work and everything else, but he definitely has this very exciting, very dramatic, very interesting, you know, there's bunches of these and they're all very different. And so anyways, please look up Anton Pavlenko. Tell him Michael sent you.
Mute.
Oh yeah, Michael, and let him know that Michael sent you. And that would be great. All right, references really quickly. That one, this is one that, like, as a tree that I visited every time I've been down to Carmel. This is right on the main beach when you go to walk down to Carmel. And I was really saddened to see that it has died. One of the big trunks has died. So it's going to be very interesting when this finally falls. But I took the picture with full knowledge that I know what the tops of these trees look like enough that I could, I don't have to paint a dead tree here because I wouldn't. I think it looks weird, but I could fill this in. I could take the information that I have here and here and fill these in with the shapes and keep this going, or I could just delete that branch. And so I just grabbed, a couple of different references. You guys are probably getting tired of everything being backlit that I present to you. So here's a facelit one with the moon being facelit. Again, most of these paintings are Pacific Grove and Carmel, that area. This one is San Francisco. This is the Golden Gate Park. And so that you guys may recognize this image. If you know my paintings very much here, here's my version of it. This is a 6 foot tall painting, 4 feet wide, I think. Was maybe 6 feet tall. Was a really good challenge. I think there's pictures. Yep, here's a picture of me painting it. It's even taller than I am by 2 inches. A really good challenge, fun. There's lots of different parts of that very scene that I really like. I would like to come back and revisit and paint just this, which is just the edited version of the middle. If you guys have seen a painting I did of calla lilies, with the backlit calla lilies, those calla lilies are literally right behind this bush.
Wow.
So I'm standing on the other side of this bush with the calla lilies being lit through this same little portal back here. It was kind of cool though. I got to name this painting Golden Gate, which, Golden Gate Park, San Francisco, and it looks like a nice Golden Gate, and everybody can put their own religious symbolism into that accordingly to whatever belief structure you have. I moved a couple more Carmel trees. I'll be doing some of these today in the black and white with the acrylic. Just kind of looking at the fun shapes. This is one that I put into the Notanizer app. This is from that exact same park in San Francisco, Golden Gate Park. This is literally turned looking to the left. There was a pond, and that's why I set up there to paint, was this pond and these trees. So if I look left from that Golden Gate image, it's this. So it was like this amazing, magical, like, look at all these cool scenes, all within about 10 feet of each other. I got 3 paintings. And the crazy thing is, an hour before I took these paint photos and was setting up to paint with a couple friends, I had been at an amazing Monet show at the gallery in Golden Gate Park. So I was just so inspired, so completely inspired, and everything was beautiful. And, I can get on those. I think I've talked about that beauty high where everything is beautiful. I just run around taking thousands of photos, only to, sometimes come back and just go, Mike, nothing was beautiful. You were in a crazed art state. But in that instance, I was lucky. Things were truly beautiful and interesting, and so much information. A couple more. This is not one of my photos, but it's not a good photo anyways, but it's got interesting shapes. You can really see, let me see if I can zoom in. You can really see the interesting movement and personality within these trunks. I really like the trees along the coast for that reason. This is the famous ghost trees along 13 Mile Lane outside of Carmel, between Carmel and Pacific Grove. This is actually Pacific Grove. Saw a couple of you guys painted that. I think Lisa, you did. Yeah, anyways, I am totally sorry. I got distracted, but lots of references. Lisa, let's look at yours really quick. I realize you probably have to leave in like 1 minute. There we go. Is this the painting, Lisa, you'd like to talk about? All right, please unmute yourself. This is really beautiful. This is your painting, right?
Yeah.
Almost looks like just a slightly blurry photo. Is this the photo?
Uh-huh.
Cool. We had a landslide at this cabin where this photo was taken this week. So a tree went through our neighbor's shed, a huge tree, like torpedoed the shed.
Oh.
So I got lucky. Our house got lucky. But anyways, yeah, let's talk about this. Tell me, what is your favorite part about this painting and what you did here?
The clouds, because that's what I really wanted to work on, was trying to make it misty and trying to figure out how to cover up the trees in the bed, like to make it translucent so it's not completely covered by the cloud, like because clouds you can kind of see through parts of them. So yeah, and trying to show the reflection and a little bit of mist on the lake. So yeah, the brushwork, it was good practice. I painted this underpainting several classes ago. So I had some things to correct because I learned since then, but yeah, it's actually not quite that dark, but that's the best I could get in terms of a photo.
Okay, first off, fantastic. This is the best painting I've seen by you so far. This is really, really nice. I can see a lot of evolution and changes. Just the edge quality and dissipation, you got these nice sharper edges, which is funny because this is the furthest back, but you were correct. The atmosphere was clear there. And then we get this heavy atmosphere, this cloud moving across the cloud fog sitting on the water, the clouds on the water. You got this, again, gradation change of sharper edges to softer to softer to softer to almost lost. It is fantastic. Really nicely done. Your colors, quite beautiful in here. It really kind of keeps us in, but the mysterious and softness, and it's got that kind of circular movement to it, right? Our eyes kind of go in and then they kind of move around and then they come back in. So it kind of keeps the viewer involved, even though it's kind of a minimalist painting in a way. There's still a lot of interest and a lot going on. I know that this stripe is in the photo.
Yeah.
It's a little bit odd. So
Yes.
I might do something a little different with it. Even in my photo, it looks a tiny bit odd. You did a great job with it, but that it's not even a critique. It's just, I would think about maybe doing something slightly different with that, possibly.
Okay.
Again, photos get away with things that our paintings don't always. Sometimes we get in a little more trouble with that, but I think everybody gets it. I don't think anybody's really going to go, why is there a striped cloud, a flag back of whatever country?
Yeah, that was
really
the hardest
good.
part, was that.
Yeah, tell me, do you have, oh, please, sorry, I interrupted you.
Yeah, no, that's fine. That was the hardest thing, was the stripe.
Do you have any questions for me about this before you run off and go nurture young children's brains?
Oh, yeah, I think you answered it, because I think the stripe was the hardest thing for me. I tried to enlarge the picture and make it like the light at the very top of it, so it wouldn't be too ugly, but that's the hardest part. So yeah, I appreciate that suggestion. That I should have just probably taken a little more liberty with it.
Yes,
thank
well,
you. Thanks
yeah, great job. I can't wait to see what you come up with next. But yeah, I can see a lot of the discussions we've had and a lot of the questions and stuff really coming to fruition in this. So great job, and way to really push yourself. Great.
Thank you. Have a great day. I got to go nurture.
Yeah, go nurture.
Thank you.
I'm gonna pollute mines here. You go help those ones there.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Have a good
Lisa.
day, everybody.
Very cool.
Thank you.
All righty. So you guys remember where we left off? Wow, left off last week. Who was last?
No, no.
He started at the end last week.
Right, so that's why I'm working my way back across.
I think you were gonna do mine, but I don't have one, so you can just move along. It's Michelle.
Okay. Yep, you got your beautiful clouds there. Good. All right. I probably didn't do Lisa Holmgren, so maybe did I end on Michelle? Lisa Fairbank, did I get to you last week?
No, you did not get to me last week.
Okay. Oh, yeah. So this is 2 weeks ago. You're right. Great.
Yeah, don't
That's
even worry
what we
about
talked
that one.
about. Very cool. Which one would you like to focus on here out of these? You're very productive.
I don't really care. I mean, you pick one.
So you know what? I'm gonna skip this one, the first one, which is nicely done and everything, because I'm gonna be talking about it.
Yeah, and it's not finished.
Great. So good job, good start, good movement and everything else. We'll be talking about that one as one of the demos.
Okay.
Tree homework number 1. Okay, so here I saw you commented on Jill Carver's amazing artwork. So Lisa is in my mentoring group, and I gave her a little bit of homework to do lights and shadows, warms and cools. And I asked her to look at Jill Carver's work. So you guys can look at the link. What I really like about Jill's work is the separation of warms and cools. She actually even separates her palette, as I understand, as she's talked about it in the past, with warms and cools. And when she mixes her colors, she keeps them separated into warms and cools. And then she lays them down after kind of thinking about no tan, black and white, or shadow and light. She then basically keeps her colors separated into lights and darks, and then never two shall they meet, she says. The light family and the shadow family, never shall the two meet. And it's really interesting just thinking about that and looking at her paintings. It's of course it's not true completely. She's definitely got some mid-tones, but for the most part it's all lights and darks. She really plays that up. Okay, tell us, Lisa, about your awesome tree here. That's amazing.
Okay, so as you guys know, we were on this 3-week trip and we went back to my roots in Rockport, Texas. And this is a tree that has been there for over 1,000 years and survived 50 major hurricanes.
Wow.
And it's just called the big tree. Okay, this is what it is. And it's a live oak. Live oaks are very interesting trees. They're predominant in Texas. And the live oaks on the coast, the side that faces the ocean, they're all bent the other way because the prevailing trade winds. And so I got a little obsessed with the tree. I've never really painted trees other than blobs. And I just decided to paint it. So it's my first tree.
Very cool. And this is from one of your references of it?
Yes, it is.
Okay. Very cool. Looks like you were there at midday, about noon.
We were, and it was extremely overcast, and it was the whole time we were on the coast. So you get this kind of weird gray color in the sky.
Yeah.
So I just painted what I saw.
You even got some blue bonnets in there. Very Texan.
I did. Yeah. I there weren't actually blue bonnets there. I just threw them there.
But it wasn't Texas until there was. You
Yeah, exactly.
One
How
of
would
those
you
really
know?
long Texas
How would you know?
Longhorn.
Yeah.
Very cool. Well, great job on capturing, what makes this tree so interesting is like it's real octopus, kind of sensibilities. Literally, you can almost picture an octopus with its head in the dirt, and its legs sticking up and moving around. It's a tough one without strong light or strong shadow or anything like that. But I think, for being an overcast, gloomy, or not even gloomy, just overcast, not strong light day, I think you captured that. I can tell because you've got diffuse soft shadows. There's no real, the tops are a little bit lighter because of the dome of the sky reflecting down, but it's not really illuminating anything. So nicely played in that. I would look to making some of these a little dense. It looks a little bit stamp like
Mhm.
you got some leaf stamp pattern and kind of tap, 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 which happens. We find a brush that's kind of broken up a little bit and we dash it down and we're like, look, it did it. That's 500 leaves right there. And, all of a sudden just go all across it, which totally is fine. But when it's all that, it does, especially for somebody at your skill, your level of painting, it looks a touch amateurish for me. So, I would look, where can I make it stronger? Where can I make it denser? Because I know that the canopy has areas of density and probably darkness, since we're kind of looking underneath the canopy. And that will make that a little more, that's the weakest part for me. You got the nice shape to it and the form, but yeah, just the fact that it's very repetitive and a little bit on the simple, a little on the
Yeah,
simple.
I want to come in with a different color, and it was really too wet, so it
Cool.
just,
Yeah, totally. So
it's in a holding pattern until it dries a little bit, because that paint is
Gotcha.
pretty cool.
Gotcha. And those will work really nice on the edges.
Yeah.
Where there's diffused leaves. The other thing is, and I brought this up with somebody last week, is sometimes to make things bigger and more impressive, just letting it kind of go off the screen maybe would actually make it, a little more interesting. It definitely feels like it's kind of like, oh, the edge of the canvas, turn around, get back in there. Got to fit on this space. So yeah, that would be my only feedback. And this one, completely take it or leave it. It's not even an important thing. It's just something I kind of think about when I look at it. The leaves would be my only yep, I won't accept this painting until those leaves are slightly altered, and I know you will. But otherwise, nicely played. Nice movement, nice shape. I love that it starts wide, gets narrower, starts wide, gets narrower, starts wide. All of your tree trunks start broad. You've got to think that this part has to hold up all of this part, right? So it has to be pretty strong and pretty
Michael, in real life, under that part right there is a pole holding it up.
Yep.
Okay, like right there, because that poor tree is so heavy. So they have iron poles holding up those branches.
That's so funny. Well, I mean, yeah, I guess when I'm 1,000, I'll probably have to have a couple things holding me up as well. Great.
Well, thanks. That's
Thank you
cool.
so much.
I like the tree, so
I have
Yeah,
happy
and it's
with
fun, yeah, it is. It's a fun image. It's nice. I love the fact that you're doing a lot of paintings from your travels and from your experiences. That just deepens that connection. Even if you're doing them at home after the fact, it still deepens, because we spend more time in that place. We're looking back, we're reflecting, there's times like when I'll literally be looking through my photos and painting from my references, I'll start laughing because I'll remember, being in that space with my family and something that happened or a person we met or whatever else. So it's a nice opportunity to revisit. Yeah. And great job.
May I have a question on that tree, which is really awesome. I can't believe that's your first tree. And one thing too is Michael, last time you talked about how she's got branches going backwards in space, which is cool. The ones in the back that are like the squiggly one and stuff, that little squiggly one there, how it shows it's not just going sideways. But also I have a question about when we take photos then for the purpose of reference, I usually make sure everything's included in my photos so that I don't say, wait, what was that branch doing, or what, so that I can see it when I paint it. So is it still good to take photos showing the whole thing, or is it better, like you talked about, not having, cutting off something off the edge for that aesthetic purpose that you talked about?
Well, good news for you, my friend, is unless you're one of the last people ever using film, is that you can take lots and lots of photos, right? Digital makes it all so much better, and it makes the editing process, even on our phone, so much easier. So Michelle, what I will often do is take the whole scene, like you were talking about, knowing that I can get it back and I can edit that big scene. And at least, I won't regret oh, I missed that part, or, oh, I can't see that part, or whatever. And then what I would do you know, is walk around the tree or start zooming in on certain aspects, you know, maybe that squiggly branch, maybe this area, you know, be tough, but maybe this area could make a painting, or, you know what I mean? So I'm looking for different elements in it. I also, again, if I know that something's very much, there's a higher chance than normal that will photograph it, I will take not only the big scene and then a couple, you know, where I'm kind of cropping with the camera. I will also, take where I'm looking into the light, capture the sky or whatever information's in the lighter spots. I will shoot into the shadow so that, you know, I don't get home and just have a really super black tree because, you know, it focused on the sky accidentally. You know, everything in the shadows is just blackness. And then I will shoot into the mid areas. I'll find something on the camera that I feel is a mid value, you know, not too light, not too dark, just right. Cinderella, or not Cinderella, what's her name? Goldilocks. You know, I want the Goldilocks photo, the mid, just right, and focus on that. So then I'll have, you know, about 5 or 6 photos that I can take back or peruse through. I guess you guys have seen me, or a lot of times I'll have 2 to 3 different photos that I'm painting from at a time. I also have my monitor up, so I can zoom in, I can crop, I can change out of black and white, I can, you know, warm up lights and cool down shadows, all the different things, all the editing. Did that answer your short question in a long way?
Yes, thank you.
You are
And
welcome.
Michelle, just so you know, I mean, I took probably 12 photos of the big tree, maybe 20. And then I also, because it's such a popular tree, searched online for the image. So I used my photo for reference, but I looked at a lot of different things.
Right. That is a really good point. Yeah, I do the same thing because, you know, a professional that's out there, you know, with the slow lens and captures all the information. Yeah. Yeah. So great. Perfect. Here we go. Linda, welcome back to having images on the computer. I think you're muted, Linda, if you're there.
Yay to my husband, and he didn't have time to upload the last 2 or 3, and I've reworked that. I reworked this one with the big cloud. Well, where was the, no, further up. Oh, one more, that one. I reworked those clouds. He didn't have time to take it out and put the better one in.
Yeah, this is cool. That's your version of one of my little ones that I did when I did all 6 at one time, kind of thing.
Well, I tried to do all 6 of those because I try to copy what you do, not copy it, but to get the essence of what you're teaching me. I try to emulate what you're teaching me to create that effect in my head, because I get, I don't know, I get lost in the beauty of what I see when I go out and take photographs. And then when I get back in and I start to try to use a photograph, I'm like, it was like when I was in, you know, nursing school and going to college, I'd find a word that I'd look at and I'd say, what does that mean? And I'd go off and look that word up, and then I'd look up the root word, and then I'd look, you know, and then I'd get off on this magic trail of adventure and not study what I was supposed to study. So
all of a sudden you're reading Latin literature.
That's it. And I have a book on Latin.
And you speak Latin. So that's great. That's awesome. Well, I love this. I think this is my favorite out of the ones you shared, and simply because of your variety of paint application and brush marks and just everything else. Very much like we were talking about with Lisa's painting earlier. You got these nice soft edges. I mean, these clouds look like clouds, and your trees, look how dense and solid and heavy and grounded they feel, right? I mean, there's no questioning, you know, the ground and the sky. Really nicely played on that, you know, and it's partly due to this nice, heavy, thick paint application and everything else. But, you know, a good part of it too is just look at these edges compared to these edges, right? Look at this value, this darkness. Even though you've got a nice dark up here, it's not even as dark as these. And that really helps this to come down, these to go up, these to feel what? Floating soft and aloft, and these to feel heavy and grounded. So nicely played on that. Which paint would you like to focus on? Is that the one?
That was a good one. Yes. I tried to
Okay.
do all 6 of them and and this one was leftover paint, the really rough one. That
This one
was
here?
leftover paint on my palette from doing the 6 paintings. And
Mhm.
I just played with the palette knife and all I did with the brush were these little ravens flying in the air on the wind that day. So it was just
Wow.
leftover paint.
That's so cool.
Yeah, that's really neat. I love that you're experimenting with your palette knife, and even within this, I mean, again, I'm not a huge palette knife painting fan. Do not let that sway you. I know most people, I'm definitely in the minority there when it comes to plein air painting or palette knife painting. But the reason I don't like palette knife paintings a lot of time is because the repetition. Like most people's or many people's palette knife paintings either look 100% like this
Yeah.
or all like this.
Yeah.
Because you've combined these different elements and different types of marks, it makes it so much more interesting to me.
Well, and I'm not a palette knife person, so I don't know. And I did this like in 15 minutes. It's leftover paint. I don't want to waste it because it all costs pennies and dollars,
there
so
you
I'm
go,
going
there
to
you
use
go.
it. So, and
Yeah.
everybody I showed that to go,
Finish your
oh, how
plate.
wonderful. And I thought, oh my God, I just thought it was a mess.
Isn't that fun? Sometimes, I mean, I actually want to talk about that as part of I think I even wrote it on the email that I sent out to you guys about how we learn and about learning faster. And a lot of times, Linda, what happens is, we work and it takes, we can spend weeks and months and, years for some of my students on paintings that they just won't give up on. But the truth is, we can learn so much. I mean, here you learned about brushwork, you learning about palette knife, you learned about just different interesting movement and paint applications, and all within 15 minutes. And then you're off to the next painting and you're off to the next painting. And
And
so
the cypress tree one in here is my last painting from the last class. No, further back. I think down. That one with the golden and purple sky. That's a Louisiana painting.
Oh, okay, very cool. Gorgeous sky. Look at that. Nicely done.
Thank you.
Yeah, so yeah, you're really, I can see a lot of growth going on, Linda. I can see, for one, I mean, when we were starting out together, which wasn't very long ago, your horizon lines were even crooked and different things that you weren't noticing and seeing. And I'm really appreciating your edge quality changes, that you're really allowing different things to have different edge quality and different movement. And yeah, I mean, it's really singing. It's really coming along. So I'll be curious where you're taking this. I do want to be mean to you. I've been too nice so far.
Okay, be mean.
I'll be a little bit mean here.
Yeah.
And it's going to be probably one that's maybe even the most dear to your heart here because, part of your Louisiana story here.
That one.
But what's happening here is something we've talked about a little bit in the past. And again, something that an affliction that I suffer, I wrestle with.
Okay.
And it is, again, you just organizing nature for them.
Yeah.
Look at your spacing. It's almost exactly the same.
I think I'm have a little autism and I have to have things
well, maybe
all lined up.
you might be a little more British than you thought. You might be. You might have a monarchy in your family, or
I don't know. I had a British grandmother, so how God.
Oh, there you go. Yes.
Give me grace.
So you just be aware. So what's happening here is, look, you just painted one tree with 1, 2, 3. One tree with 1, 2, 3. What you know what I mean? Over and over and over.
Oh,
So
God.
you're not painting trees, you're painting the symbol of a tree.
Right. And I think I miss Louisiana. I really do. And I miss the smell of the stinky swamps. And it has it like the streets of New Orleans. They all have a scent to them. And I'm a very organic kind of person. I like to put my feet on the ground and smell and feel the ground at the energy, and just and I think that's what I'm missing. I need a trip to Louisiana and
There
the
you
ocean.
go. Yeah, who doesn't? I mean, I think we all need a trip to New Orleans and get ourselves a po' boy and
and
get out there and paint. So just within this, again, these trees also look like they're reacting to each other, like they're scared to touch each other. I know swamps and I know, the density and the just everything's growing on top. Everybody's fighting
Yeah.
for light and for resources.
Yeah.
And it is, you know, you were talking about, you like this, you know, the stink of the swamp, you like
Yeah.
the messiness, and you took all that out. This looks like a
Yeah.
hot potpourri smelling,
Yeah.
very organized, like somebody
and
planted the tree. So
I have a question. I
Yeah, yeah.
mix the dark colors in here are actually blue in real life, but they
Uh-huh.
come across as so black. How can I brighten up that dark color
in your photos,
in my photos? Like even just on the canvas, I mixed the red and the blue and the ultramarine blue and the quinacridone, and I put a little of the naphthol scarlet in it
yep.
to make it brighter, and a touch of yellow, and that's what comes out. And it's happened in several of my paintings, so I've got to adjust the reds to make it
Yeah, I mean, are
warmer
you
or
photographing
cooler.
indoors or outdoors?
I'm painting indoors,
And photographing?
photographing outdoors.
Okay, that would have been my advice is, you know, if you ever get an overcast, you know, cloudy day, that's the best time to photograph your work.
Okay.
Where there's not a strong light hitting it. I'm afraid I don't know. I mean, it could be just how your camera's reacting. It might not show blues as well. I don't
Yeah.
know. There's always applications that you can adjust, you know, push darks,
Yeah.
shadows, and push towards the blue, and it will, you know, do that. But I'm afraid I don't know. So very nicely done. Oh, and then I was going to say the same thing, unfortunately, Linda, about this. I
Yeah.
think these are hills.
These are sand dunes in Saudi Arabia, and my
Oh,
husband
okay, so they could be
asked-
super regular like this.
yeah, and they were very regular, even more, they were like all the same height, and I made them a little bit different.
Okay.
But my husband asked me to put the sand dunes in because he didn't like the line of little trees that I had there and things.
Okay.
He goes, do that one for me, because he loved the sky and it looked like
Yeah,
a
your
Saudi
sky's out.
Arabian evening sky.
Perfect. Then yeah, I was thinking these were like mountains near your home, and I was like, that's so
Oh, no.
interesting that you've just made them all regular. But when you say it's sand dunes, my critique goes right out the window. You have saved yourself this time.
Thank you. Woohoo.
Beautiful glowing sky. Fantastic, really. You know, it'd be interesting to maybe get a little density of paint on it, but I wouldn't mess with this, you know, especially if your husband's happy. Got to keep him happy. He's, you know, gonna buy you an easel.
That's right. I said a $3,000 easel too. So we'll see.
Yeah, you getting a Hughes easel?
Yeah, I'm gonna get one. Yes.
What? Oh my gosh, awesome. You're gonna love it.
Yeah,
Husband's gonna hate putting it together, but you're gonna love it once it is.
that's okay. He reads instructions well.
Good. Yeah. I mean, if I can build it, anybody can. Your husband probably have no problems. I'm very
Oh.
not technical. Leslie, are you here? Let's see if I can find you on our group here. Was Leslie able to join us this morning? Oh, I even got an email from Leslie that she is, I think, traveling today, I believe. So sorry about that. Our watercolorist. Woo, that is so pretty. Look at these colors. Love the warms and the ochres and the the browns, yellows, greens, all earthy and really interconnected and beautiful. This is a tough one for me to, you know, critique very much because, you know, for one, it's watercolor. For two, you know, it's very different than kind of what we've been focusing on, but my hat's off, very beautiful. I love the, you know, creativity and variety of textures presented within it. I will maybe save this, Leslie, until we have an opportunity to talk about it. But anyways, very nice. Great. Karen Gates, are you here? Yep, there you are.
Yep, hi.
Hi, do I have to be nice to you now that you got
No,
somebody in the
please.
background?
No, please
I'm
give me
just
the
kidding.
real deal. Yeah.
All right, beautiful. So is this your painting? Wow, I was thinking it was just a couple photos when they were that small. I didn't hear him, but
Oh, wow.
hey, look at you, Bev Doolittle. What you doing? I see you, Bear. You guys remember Bev Doolittle, the lady who's always hiding Indians and everybody? And birds
Oh,
and-
no, I don't. I have to check her out.
Super fun. You'll totally recognize it when you, as soon as you see it. Let's do a real quick.
Who is it? Beverly?
Bev Doolittle, like here's one with hidden horses.
Oh wow. Oh, no. Oh, wow. Well, I
I
would
used to
say
just go crazy for her when I
a
was
little
when
bit.
I was young. So she did a lot of this where she would just hide things. So I don't even know what I'm supposed to see right away in this one.
Yeah. Wow. No, I don't know her, but I can see she's
There's
quite
something hidden in
skilled.
this. that I can see.
Haven't
And
quite.
then the other, oh, they're also small. I apologize.
Yeah.
But anyways, like there's hidden horses, animals, Indians, everything in these. So anyways, that's awesome. Lovely. Very cool. Tell me about your favorite part and what you enjoyed about painting this.
Well, I really struggled with what I want to know. Okay.
No, not until you tell me your favorite part. What part did you
The
enjoy about
bear.
this?
I put in the bear in. You know, I mean, that's sort of my goal, is to be able to create something, but have it mean something else. What's the symbol in here? I'm thinking also that I may put a head of a person hiding behind one of these skinny branches, and or maybe a basket in the middle somewhere with some fruit or something unexpected. So it's the unexpected piece that I try to get across. So okay, so now can I ask you now?
Yeah. You've earned your right to tell me about your misery.
Uh,
Let's hear it.
I have not a clue. Like in the reference photo, if you look down at the reference photo, all the branches that have no leaves on them. I mean, they're just a tangled bit, but you can see them, and they're so fine and they're so delicate. And it's not like you can have a brush where you stamp, a lot of leaves on it or something. It's like the delicacy of those branches. How do you create those? I mean, you don't do them all. I know you'd say, well, you simplify, but I mean, even simplifying, there's so much.
Yes.
What would be the order that you would do that in? Because the other problem I always have is muddying things up. I'm not finished with this piece because it's too wet now, and that took me a while to figure out that, oh, Karen, you have to wait.
I find waiting is, definitely has its advantages. My second thing is, is how important are these branches to you? Is that part of what drew you into this? Then let's celebrate them and find them. You did answer part of it would be simplifying. What I often do, and don't worry, I'm not going to leave it at that. I'll talk about it more. But when I say simplify, squinting my eyes is ultra important. And what happens is you see this just absolute tangle of branches in here, right? Like this would be maddening to paint, right? And make you crazy. So when I squint my eyes, what I all of a sudden do is I see it as another value. You got your darks and you got your lights, and this becomes kind of a mid value, and it's, but the color's slightly related to the tree. So I actually put it in oftentimes as kind of a mid value range. I learned that from looking at Impressionist paintings. They'll often do that when you squint and you're just looking to the values or looking to the color temperatures. Like it also goes colder to warmer, a little more reddish along the periphery. A little more, it's beginning to blend. But then you are right. You can either let it dry or you can do it really delicately. You load up a brush, it could be a liner brush. It could be a really nice flat that you can turn on its side and retain its shape. Whatever brush you need to make the mark. You can I've also used credit cards or, old room key cards for hotels. And I'll literally just turn them on their side and almost use them a little bit like a stamp tool. I'll just kind of barely dip the edge of that into my paint and then just barely touch the canvas. Karen, the part that I want you to be aware of is when you're painting wet into wet and you want to get into the detail, the crazy thing is we feel like we should push down a little bit with our brush to make, to give it a space. Yeah. But the truth is you're going to load it with paint. You may have to put a little bit of medium or oil onto it, just a touch. And then you can drag that very gently across the tops of your paint. So if you want to paint wet into wet, you can. If you want to let it dry, that does definitely make it easier. And I talk about using big brushes, but there are obviously chances and times for littler brushes. Did that help a little bit? I talked about it in the second part or third part of last week's class when I was doing the demo. I showed in the sky, I literally painted a number of trunks and branches into the sky and then wiped them away and put them into the area where I wanted them and, you know, underneath the trees. So you may want to refer to that, and you'll see that I basically having, I don't know if you can see me on the screen as well when I'm doing a, anyways, grab a brush. You can do, hey, look, grabbed a dagger. But what I'm going to do basically oftentimes is I'm going to start down at the, you know, towards the bottom of the tree, and I'm going to just very lightly drag my hand up and lift away as I get higher. And that will, by having it pushing down a little harder at the beginning and then lifting up and barely touching and then lifting my hand away very gently, I will make a tapering line. So it'll go from thicker to thinner, and I'm, you know, barely touching the canvas. A lot of times, in fact, I'll have a little skipping where the tree will kind of disappear, reappear, disappear when it gets really thin. And, you know, and I'm like, oh no, you know, it's disappeared and I've lost it. But in truth, it looks even better oftentimes in the painting to not have every, you know, complete consistency. The last part about that is that these are probably, all these spindly branches and treetops and everything else are not as dark as in here. And you're like, well, yeah, obviously they're thinner, but actually I would use a lighter color and warmer color because they're backlit and, you know, being surrounded by light. I wish we could zoom in on it. Let me see if I can open it. And
I only have you on the page.
I'll get to it. Okay, give me 1 second here. Desktop, I'm just saving this image real quick. Let's go back to share. There it is. Okay, so good, it's saved. I'm going to do a quick, oh, it saved this, dang it. It saved it as a web page, not how I intended to. I forget it does that. Let's go over to where's our 3 dots. There they are. No, not duplicate post. Anyways, that's too complicated. But anyways, it gets lighter and, you know, less dark, a little more delicate, warmer. So I'm changing the colors and the values as well as when I'm, you know, when I'm going up and away from the big dark dense. And that even happens in these bigger ones that are closer to us, more in the foreground. You can still see them going from dark to lighter and lighter and lighter to where they eventually just disappear. So I'm sure that was a question for a lot of people.
So Michael, would you have, you know, one of the things I started painting it, I started painting the darks first. And of course, there's all these lights that broke up the dark. And so I tried doing a little bit of the wipe away. But what I found then is that I didn't have my background, like my sky and my snow. I had the darks in, and then I had to go put the, you know, I had to put the sky in. Would you have known that in advance, like to just lay down that sky and lay down the light first versus the darks in this case?
It's not how I would have done it, how you did it.
But then you would have gone back and put your sky in and then overlaid those darker elements?
Yeah, probably.
Because it was really, I don't know, boy. I thought, okay, I bet Michael would have put in the sky first, and then he would have been able to, because the sky's so wide, and because I really struggled with that because there's so much information in that sky, I couldn't go around it.
Can't go through it. Can't
Yeah.
go. Yeah.
Yeah. So
yeah. So I want to jump up to the easel and show you what I would have done. I would have probably done kind of a wipe away method with this, and you know, put kind of the darks, and then yeah, you know, and big to small. So literally, when I look at this, if I were to go, you know, thinking big to small, dark to light, thin to thick, right? That's my application of oil paints. That makes it the easiest for me to build a painting. Like throughout history, I have the most success with that formula.
Uh-huh.
big to small, thin to thick, dark to light. So in this case, I would do, what are my three big shapes here? Sky, trees, ground, right? I would ignore these trees probably a little bit.
Yeah, yeah.
So I've got three big shapes, right? And that's pretty easy. Then I can bring these tree shapes in as darks or whatever else, and bring those across. And by doing that, I will have created, within these big shapes, I can create some of the glow around the darks that I want, that I will replicate when I come back across with detail and everything else. I wouldn't put in like all the trees and all the branches and then try to paint the sky between everything. That would make me,
Yeah,
crazy.
that was what I discovered. But I was trying to paint the darks first. So then I realized, like, I can't paint the darks first because I got this sky that's so anyway,
Yeah, so the other thing is building up, watching your pressure. I can really see like the paint getting pushed down into the paint underneath it a lot of times. So just really working with a delicate touch. You're going to be surprised that there's so much variety in the pressure I use when I'm painting. Sometimes I'm heavy-handed and I'm really scrubbing and I'm pushing things in, and other times I'm just barely, maybe my bristles aren't even touching the canvas. It's just the paint that's hanging off the bristles that's grabbing the canvas or the paint that's there. So really, really delicate. So I want you to experiment with your pressure as you're painting, and that will allow you. And also, if you're not loading your brush up, and this again, Karen, this is just for painting wet into wet. If you're not loading your brush up with paint, it's really difficult to paint wet into wet. If you start kind of thick and heavy-handed with the paint, and then try to paint with a little what's left on your palette and it's really skimpy and you're trying to, it won't work very well. So I suggest, again, the thin to thick. I can tell that these darks are there's a lot of paint there.
yeah.
So I would have probably made my darks a little more less paint, so that I can put my lights on top of them a little easier.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
again, thin to thick,
Yeah.
dark to light, big to small. And when I say dark to light, it's not like, oh, I'm literally working from black towards white. It's a back and forth for sure. But as a general term, I'm kind of thinking that way of building up to my lights. And oftentimes my lights will be my most thick paint application, whereas my darks will be my thinnest. And you can see why. When darks reflect, when darks are oily and thick, they're really reflective, and they read as the opposite of dark. They're shiny.
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna let it dry, and I'm gonna keep working on it. Thank you.
My pleasure. Thank you. All right, how are we doing on time? Let's do a couple more.
Can I ask you one quick thing about the one below it? I haven't finished that one. It was the one.
Big Sky?
Yeah, that one.
Oh, nice.
I'm sort of, is this kind of it feels kind of like it's completed, but I hate the I don't know, the brush strokes that I was trying to make as an underpainting. I can't get them out. I can't soften them now.
No, you can't. They're dry.
Okay.
You got to go over the top of it with more paint if you want to change.
Okay.
If you want to change these brush strokes, you've got to go back over with new paint. So again, if it was the underpainting, okay, all right. I will. So that is a problem. You either have to embrace the texture that is your underpainting, or you paint over it. That's generally what I do, and that's usually what my plan is. So again, the thin paint to thicker paint, that's a part of the building up process. Then that's what I'll be doing in one of the demos, I think, if I get to adding color to that tree. So be aware too, your horizon line it looks a little crooked. It looks like the painting's leaning to the left a little bit.
Probably, yeah.
Everything's kind of leaning to the left. So just be aware of that. But this is nice. It looks spiritual. It looks like well, I don't know if spiritual is the right word, but it looks like metaphysical. I don't know exactly the word.
Otherworldly.
Yeah, kind of otherworldly, but it also looks like it's like an interpretation of a thought or a feeling about a thing. So it's a, got a poetry and an expressiveness. It doesn't look like you're, really trying to replicate a scene or a location.
Yeah. Well, there is one below the reference that I used, which is kind of like that. And it was, yeah.
So yeah, look at the flat horizon line.
Mhm.
And that grounds it. So if you want it to feel, more real, you'll probably want to ground it by just literally having that line.
Yeah.
But yeah, the really crazy, interesting scene. You like the
Complicated,
deserts.
yeah.
Definitely.
Okay, thank you.
All right, Julie Lacey, there we go. Got your photos up here. Hopefully we'll get to see some paintings from you at some point here. And Irina did a snow scene. Holy cow. Okay. Are you there, Irina? I heard you earlier.
Yes, I am.
Great. Tell us about your painting here. What's your favorite parts or parts of this painting?
Well, I did it with just 3 primaries and white, so that was good. It worked for me with the application of the paint. I've started to paint with a little bit thinner, okay, with a solvent, and it works. Best part in this, I don't know. I like this one, but it took too much time for me to do it, and I changed the colors all the time, and at the end it's just mostly gray. But I like the tree. I like it. Looks better in reality. It looks better than in the photo.
Yeah, I assume that's pretty much always the case. But yeah, that's great. Well, it looks like you're having fun. You've got a lot of different interesting brush marks and textures and values and density of paint. So I applaud you for, varying the way you're applying it. And I also always, as always, applaud you for just the fact that you're painting so much and that you're trying so many things so quickly. For those of us, there's 4 or 5 of us in this group that know Irina a little better. And Irina only started painting really recently with oils, and she's just really attacking it. She told us that she was painting up to 12 hours a day sometimes, which is way more than me.
Yes, yesterday I started and painted till half 2 at night.
Oh my gosh. Oh, you're intense. That's awesome. I love the enthusiasm. Don't burn yourself out, but you're definitely, by just painting and paint. I mean, that is, I hate to say it, I want to be your instructor and coach and mentor and teacher for life, but but the truth is that you're going to learn the most by painting. You can watch me all day, you can listen to me all night, and the truth is, unless you're painting and trying and experimenting, and again, fail fast, fail often. That's our quote for today. I want you to just keep painting, and don't let them hurt your feelings. We are not our paintings. Our paintings are just results of a process that we put into it. And, sometimes it works, sometimes we don't, and we have to be willing and able to learn from both. And the truth is, if you're not overly attached to the end result, you can look at your painting and really analyze it each time and say, why did this work? Why did this not work? What am I doing here that's better than over here? And stuff like that. So live or we learn. That's my wife's saying. She says that all the time. In fact, we live or we learn.
Okay, is it better for me not to spend a lot of time at one painting? Is it better to paint so many as I can? Do you mean this?
Wow, yeah. So that's so great to see your underpainting as you're kind of mapping in your big shapes and your forms. And I love your sun or moon in this instance. It looks really nice. There's your references. Great job. And yeah, that's fun. Wow, that is compared to the gray painting we were just looking at. This is explosion of fireworks, and this is a party. Very fun. Tell us really quickly about this one, Irina, and then I'm going to keep moving on here.
I don't know why I chose this one. Somewhere on the internet. I don't like it really, and but it was good to learn, and I was glad that I managed to get the paint glue. I mean, the work is glowing in the dark, so it's fun.
Yeah, well, it is nice. It's good to experiment with, the grays and stuff, which I often find to be more difficult to find the color within, the gray paintings and stuff. But this is really fun. It's interesting just to see all the different stuff that you're doing. So anyways, I appreciate that very much. Yeah, any questions on this one at all for me?
No.
Okay.
Not
So as
really.
far as design, I probably would have taken this tree off the page, maybe made it taller. It feels a little bit like our perspective is changing as we're looking from here to here. It doesn't feel like it's necessarily exactly in the same image, but otherwise really nicely done.
It is because I didn't do any sketch, and I did this painting from different photos. So I composed different elements from different photos, and I didn't make any sketch. I didn't have any design, and I started designing direct on the surface. And
Okay.
I started with this tree, and then I understood that I am not gonna get it right, and thought, okay, I don't care. Let it be this way. But I know what you mean.
Yeah, and it does look like this tree has been chopped off. Like it's still really wide here. So it probably was tall, and probably the wind sheared off the top of this tree at some point. And that's kind of how it feels in your painting too. Like like it could have been taller. That's not bad. That's fine. I mean, we see that in nature all the time. So anyways, nice job. All right. Carol, I thought I saw you earlier. Do we have a Carol here? Yep, there you are, Carol. How you doing?
Yeah, I'm here.
Great. Boy, lovely. Let's see if we can do don't want to duplicate. Download, that's what I want to do. Just so I can blow up your painting a little bit. See if it'll let us. There we go. Nope. Go away, trees. Want to look at Carol's painting. Sorry, guys. Popped up on the wrong screen here. All right, so beautiful. I love your whole setting. I bet your house is just really beautiful.
Thank you.
Yeah. So this is, what a nice kind of decorative, almost dare I say, like Art Nouveau, which is one of my favorite art movements. Love Art Nouveau. It's kind of the, taking the elements and making them slightly more decorative. And this really does have a warm and old world feel, and it's exactly the kind of frame I would put it in. The beautiful, beautiful frame. So all in all, very nice presentation. Tell us about it. Tell me some of your favorite parts about this painting.
Well, after the first time, we did subtractive painting, I got very excited about it. I feel like I could do this a lot more. Like the more I do it, the more I like it, the more I enjoy it. It feels really good to me because it's so soft, and it just feels so good to me to be able to do this. So I'm very happy to keep going and trying to keep doing this more and more. I'm probably not a normal person. I don't know.
No, I mean, there's
lot of people
definitely a romanticism and a beauty. And, again, knowing what I do about you and your paintings, the little bit I do, but that you kind of lean towards a more expressive side, a little more on the abstracted side, a little more on the poetic side. Is that right? Am I right in saying that?
Yeah.
Okay, so a lot of things that I might critique as far as like the realisticness of it, which I'm still going to talk about a little bit. You know, you can take or leave. And that's kind of the benefits of painting in a more expressive manner, or a more, you know what I mean, where you're just kind of like, well, I'm taking this as an influence and jumping off and starting from there. But let's go ahead and I'll give me a couple things to use, and I'm not going to even say as critique, but it's just things that I notice. First one is that this cloud here kind of just stops right before it gets here. And it almost looks like it's kind of like this cloud and these trees are having a nice, you know, neighborly conversation.
Yeah.
Which is kind of, you know, it can be nice and again, kind of poetic, but I may just have taken the cloud and tucked it behind the tree. So it's got an overlapping to it, you know, trees are in the foreground, clouds in the background. That's it with the cloud. With the trees, I got to ask you what these lines here, is that the sky between the trees?
Yeah.
Okay, so your three trees like each other, but they don't really like each other. They're not quite cuddling. They're just laying down as close to each other as they can get. So, you know, if these three trees, unless they're literally lined up beside each other and some kind of growth pattern is going on, I don't know any trees that do this really. So they would be touching. So you can have little glimpses of light between them, but having this, I was kind of thinking maybe it was like the glowy outline of them, like because they're backlit, but it doesn't quite work either. So anyways, I would, if you still can, maybe soften and get rid of this this line in between them at parts. You can leave, again, little glimpses of it. But yeah, it feels like they just can't touch each other for whatever reason. Like, you know what I mean? So you get this kind of odd shape going around them. I also don't know if these trees are maybe growing on top of whatever this shape is back here, which I believe these are trees far off in the distance.
Right.
But you see how they go broad right here?
Yeah.
That makes them look like this might be the ground, right where they're connected, versus coming down and this being the ground where they're planted.
Well, the photograph is really not representative of the, because I'm looking at it right now, and it's much, this whole area where the trees are, well, I don't know how to explain it, where it goes back into the distance. I made it much darker. It's not showing up, so it doesn't.
Oh, it's got a little glare on it right
things
there.
Things that are in the background are really in the background.
Okay. Yeah, absolutely, and I could totally see that. And again, it's a beautiful picture. That's the thing. It's got those nice colors. It's got the nice glow. It's lovely to look at. It's lovely to be in the presence of. But, and so it just kind of, my only questions are, you know, how realistic, how, you know, where, if you're doing more not impressionistic, abstract, like you're taking landscape and abstracting it, or are you, yeah, that would be it. That would be my only questions. And right now it's kind of just in between enough that it makes me question it. You know what I mean? It's not so obviously, you know, poetic, and it's not so obviously realistic that I can really tell. And it doesn't have to be. It can live wherever you want it to live in the in-betweens. But yeah, those were just some of my observations. Yeah, what do you think about what I said there?
Well, I remember you said something about a tangent in one of my Monet painting. And so I was looking at, I mean, I thought, well, if I go to that tree, it'll look like I'm touching the tree, but it doesn't make the cloud recede. So I agree that cloud, maybe when I first finished it, I thought the cloud's too big. It wouldn't be that big. It would be smaller in receding backwards. And then the cloud underneath it, I realized, does have a tangent with the trees that it's over. It doesn't show distance.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of looks like it ducks behind it a little bit there. And you did it correctly. Usually the clouds higher in the sky are bigger than the clouds lower in the sky. So that's actually correct. You did that part well. Yeah. I think, yeah, just that line there, if the trees are not touching, it looks pretty peculiar. I don't think I've ever seen trees that quite do that.
Yeah, it's
Especially
very
of the same
abstract
trees.
to me. It's
What's
my
that?
abstraction. It's my abstraction of the, I think I painted this along with one of the paintings you did, and I couldn't get the trees to look the way that you made them look, so I did whatever I could.
Yeah, totally. Yep. No, I mean, they're nice. So, yeah, great job. Let's see. Yeah, I like your big sky paintings that you're doing as well.
This one, that
Great.
one is on gold.
Oh,
one
this.
here. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I can see. So that's what I have lined up is the gold gesso underneath, which
Yeah,
is,
it's hard to see, it's hard to photograph because
yeah, it's
the
so hard.
gold until it moves.
Yeah, often what I do is a little tiny short video where I kind of show it from the side, up and down, and it will literally turn from yellow to pinks to greens, depending on what angle you're looking at the gold gesso, or, even better would be gold leaf, which is a lot of work. But I like this gold gesso.
Yeah.
It's a ton of fun. Great. Thank you so much, Carol.
All right, thank you.
All right, looks like we got two more here. Bella, how you doing?
Good.
Good, you came back. We didn't scare you off last week?
No, but I have to tell you, I am really a total beginner, and I've done a little acrylic painting, but I'm just starting with oils and trying to figure out how to use them. So the one there at the bottom, that one, that's oil 20 by 20. And I did that after I saw before I joined the class, I found one of your YouTube videos on subtracting tonalism. So that was a first attempt at that. And kind of looked like an underpainting, but I think I may leave it as is.
Right, very cool. Yeah, I think it's really nice. Has a great feel to it. Is that this one that I did?
I'm not sure. It looks similar, but I definitely changed it. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, very nice. Great. Yeah, it's lovely. I mean, this could be a great painting just to kind of leave as it is. I would probably touch up in here again, these trees, kind of the same thing what we were talking about, look a little bit like, they're going to grow in and overlap each other a little bit. Yeah, and then you have a very large sky space, which doesn't bother me and is very relaxing, but it kind of asks me, like, why did I give so much space to this? If it was like on canvas or something, I'd be almost tempted to like cut it here or on a panel or something, just to kind of, so I don't have a 50-50 split between big sky and big, the ground. But again, that's just here or there. It doesn't really bother me very much one way or the other. But I might be tempted to do some kind of a clouds or a moon or a sun or whatever, birds, I don't know. But you definitely do not need to do that. So I'm just going to really quickly, Bella, if you don't mind, just burn through these so we can keep moving along. 'Cause you got a lot of them. You've been a busy person this last week, it looks like.
Well, I'm practicing skies. Those were I did 3 or 4 on cardboard because clouds for me. So these are just quick studies.
Really great.
I have a lot of glare.
Yeah, but still really nice. And I love the fact that you just, you made a bunch of like cardboard, like you said, did you use gesso some cardboard up?
Yes.
So that's the way to do it. Just, make some cheap surfaces that you can't care about. You're not going to sell it. You're not gonna, you know what I mean? That's the way to experiment and play, you guys, is to literally paint on things that you can't care about.
Right.
You can give this as a gift to somebody and stuff, but if it works out really nicely, or, but mostly these are notes for ourselves and just our way to experiment and play. And by doing these little studies, doing them quickly, knocking them out, you're experimenting with values, you're experimenting with mixing colors, you're experimenting with painting wet into wet, you're experimenting with brush strokes, so many things. And again, experimenting takes bravery, right? Takes the willingness to fail and the willingness to learn. And so having these little ones that you can just really just go for it. You just don't care too much. Fail quick, fail often is definitely a viable a way to learn. And I'm not saying these are failures by any stretch, Bella, not at all. In fact, I really like both of those so far. But I'm saying that, be willing to. That's the only way we really experience growth. If we're painting scared, we won't learn. I promise you. I mean, we will, but it'll be much at a snail's pace compared to somebody like my buddy Anton Pavlenko, who's just going for it. He's just painting and experimenting and throwing paint at the canvas consistently, and trying new things. Man, no, there's some really nice things going on in these paintings, but with your edge quality, and it feels stormy. It feels like the fog is rolling in, where you got dissipated edges versus the more crisp edges, and the same thing feeling here. This feels very temporary and moody and windy, and there's a feeling to this that's also kind of one of the benefits of painting quicker. These little studies, as I was showing you David Sharp's paintings earlier. I feel like he does them quick. I know he doesn't. I know he works them and reworks them. And, if you go join his Instagram page, you'll see he'll do tons of sketches on his computer, and he paints it multiple times. And it's like this well-rehearsed spontaneity that he's capturing. And I see that in John Singer Sargent's work and Joaquin Sorolla's work and stuff, where it looks like they just stepped out and painted these glorious, emotional, movement-filled paintings, but it was actually very thought out, very rehearsed. And I think that Sargent even has a quote that it takes a lot of work to look this spare of the moment or something. I can't remember the word he used, but anyways. So these are all your little sketches and studies here.
Yep, that's another one. That's just imagination study. And what I learned from doing this is I'd rather use a reference photo. It feels like composition wise, like all of the clouds are pointing to the center, because
Right.
I'm kind of making it up as I was going along.
Yeah.
And
You've got some good shapes here and good information, but yeah, you've got to do something again, like this guy and this guy are scared of each other. This one has a very consistent shape. So, you can just paint a little more paint into this and this can totally be saved. But you're right. Like, it really feels kind of like arrows going somewhere. We don't know where.
that's right.
Yeah.
That's right. So what I struggled with this one, besides the composition of the clouds are not great, but painting wet into wet. If I had some blue sky down and then I tried to lay some white over it, and it gets very smeary. So I'm still learning how to use oil paint.
100%. Yeah. And you will be for approximately the next 50 to 100 years. Yeah, we never master it. There's always, even the best painters out there are still learning. It's a weird and awkward medium and material. It does weird things and it goes against our instincts. I think that acrylics are a much more instinctual paint. Like, a beginner without lessons can figure out acrylics pretty quickly, but oils, you got to earn oils. You got to earn the right and earn the ability. And, it always, I get so many nice comments on my Facebook page and, on all the social media stuff. And it's always people writing, oh my gosh, you've got such a, God-given skill or talent. And I want to write back, no, I don't. I am the slowest learner you met. And I just put 1,000 hours into this. I've done all the mistakes, it's not divine intervention. In fact, if, you know, if I was basing it on how I feel, I would think that maybe God doesn't want me to paint by how much of a struggle it is. But it's a struggle that's worth taking, and it's a struggle that's worth, you know, I like the struggle, and you have to enjoy the struggle. But it's difficult with painting wet into wet. It's a whole different thing. What you're really going to do, just like I was talking about earlier with Karen, is you're really going to work on your pressure, really loading up the brush. And what I would do is, you know, even what I do oftentimes is I'll paint a color field. You know, I'll just paint a red square, and then I'll have orange paint, and I'll put down orange paint, and I'll do 3 dashes, first dash, second dash, third dash, and watch what changes, and do really light pressure with the first touch, really light pressure with the second, and then push harder with the third, and watch what happens. And you'll see that the first one will just sit right on top. So I don't remember, I said red paint with orange paint on top. There'll be no pollution. It'll be just an orange square sitting on top of a red square, you know, on top of red. The next one, you'll see that, you know, you've lost a lot of the paint you've on the first drop of, and it's going to begin to blend. It's starting to pick up that red paint. So now you got a orangey red or a reddy orange. And then in the next one, it's going to be really starting to blend. So I like to say, when you hit the surface once, you're painting, maybe twice. Third stroke, without reloading or cleaning your brush, you are now mixing. Okay. First stroke, maybe second stroke, you're painting. Third stroke, you're blending. Okay. And you'll see that. And you can use that as you learn it. Right. And then what I'll do, Bella and everybody else, is I will then mix up a color. Let's say green. Let's go crazy. And I'll do the same thing on top of that orange, which is on top of the red, you know, maybe not covering the whole area. And I will see, can I drop green, a whole new color, or even like yellow, the most delicate of colors that wants to mix so quickly on top of that orange, on top of that red. And now, is it still not polluting? Is it still like, and then do it again and again, and you'll see, watch how the brush strokes and your pressure do it. So maybe it's a good idea, Bella, to make a big piece of cardboard on the side that you can experiment with. So before you go to add paint over here, wet into wet, you have a fully scratch piece of paper, like, as it were, like a scratch board, a place to experiment with no fear. Absolutely no fear at all.
And just a quick question, about mediums, for painting mediums for oil. So when you do a first layer, you're using a medium, and then are you just using paint out of the tube after that?
So if you said at the beginning, I'm using a medium, would that be like the Gamsol, like the paint thinner, you mean?
Yeah, Gamsol or Galkite or something like that.
Yeah, I usually don't even use the Galkite at the beginning. Because it almost acts like a fat, like an oil, if you're adding it. So you want to keep that idea of thin to thick. So the paint thinner is a thinner. It's literally in its name. It makes, you know, it diffuses it. It's basically spreading out the particulates of color a little bit. So that's why you get that transparency. It's not actually making the paint transparent. It's just spreading the particulates of color further apart, so they look like transparent to our eye. And so I will start sometimes with medium, just a touch. And then you can start with, then if the next layer, if you wanted to add a little bit of medium, I don't use medium very often. I prefer just direct paint because of the predictability of it. I find when I start adding mediums, it just becomes more and more unpredictable. And building up the layers correctly can be more and more difficult. So I like just direct paint when I can. If I need the paint to be a little bit slicker, I'll add just a touch of the paint thinner. But if I do use a medium like a Galkid, I like the Gamsol gel, Galkid gel, sorry. I used to use Liquid, which is pretty ubiquitous. A lot of people use Liquid, which is just like the Gamsol or Galkid gel or Galkid medium. I like those because it dries quicker. And it has a shine, so the colors stay fresher. But the reason I don't like it is because it dries quicker and it has a shine. And it makes it a little bit slippery. But if I want to keep building a painting quickly, I can just, adding a little bit of that will make it so I can get back to it faster if I need to. And then you're just going to add a little bit more medium each layer. And that'll add to the slick. conversely, you're going to add, you can paint with direct paint, and then you can add a drop or two of oil,
Okay.
whatever mixing oil you're going to use for your paints. And then you're going to
Mhm.
mix a little bit more and a little bit more, because you want the layers on top to dry slower than the layers underneath. That's the key,
Okay.
basically.
Got it.
But yeah, I don't use too much medium. In the old days, paints weren't nearly as good as they are today. Just not even close. We like to think that the paints of the old were much, much better. But truth is, with the milling processes and everything else, they're pretty great now for the most part. Yeah, thank you. Hopefully that was helpful. And Barbara, did I see you? There you are, Barbara. How are you?
I'm good. I didn't do a whole lot of
Yeah.
painting. Then those two in the frame were like just some that I acquired. But
those
today
were
I
not your
just, or
paintings?
this week. Well, the ones in the frames are not my paintings.
Okay.
They were some I picked up in Korea when I was living there.
Yeah.
But this,
very cool.
I just put them up because I just thought they were quite beautiful, and they were done by locals, sold at a little market, and
Love it.
I just love it. And so that's
Love
why
it,
I put
love it.
that there.
So this is invaluable. Last year when I taught this class, this is actually what I did. I just did a page with like 3 or 4 different trees, and different ways to
Yeah.
apply paint. And I think this is so great, because what's happening here is, look at, you're beginning to experiment with going from thicker to thinner. You're experimenting with just finding the outward shape and getting some form. And these are great. This is a really great way to practice and experiment.
That was my objective, since trees are my nemesis.
Yeah.
Anything green is my nemesis. But yeah, in fact, the oak appearing tree at the bottom left, I did that probably in about a minute and a half. And that was the one that my little art group all liked the best. I struggled with my pines. I thought, well, maybe I should put some sky holes in there. And I'm terrible at sky holes. They just look like blobs. And then of course I did this over a transparent, and I was using transparent paints. So there you go.
Yeah. No, I can definitely see that, but I'm not worried about that. I'm looking at the silhouette shape, and it feels pretty naturalistic. These feel a little bit like they're from a Christmas tree farm, like somebody's coming in and grooming them once a year and, kind of giving them a nice shape.
They are.
Oh, there you go. Well, perfect. And your oak tree here is really nice. I mean, I can feel the canopy formation. You got just enough sky holes and different things. So yeah, this is very, very, very valid. I feel like when we first presented this, you were kind of like a little sheepish about, I didn't really do the homework or whatever, but this is 100%. This is very valid. And a lot of times I think it's so great that when you're having a weak spot, like when I'm drawing the figures, hands, can be really rough on me, those pesky hands. And so I'll have a page of just hands. You know what? I'll get frustrated when I'm out figure drawing and just, put boxing gloves on all my models and then come home and just do page after page of hands. You know what I mean? Like I'm just focusing on the element that is my weak. I think it's important to focus on our strength, but also to, look at our weaknesses and see, especially if they're holding us back in what we want to convey, the information and the story we want to convey. Okay, you guys, that was awesome. You are awesome. And we're going to take a little break here. And it looks like, of course, we're going to go a little bit long. I'm going to take a tiny bit of a longer break because we actually have somebody here helping us with our roof and windows right now. And I haven't even said hi to him yet. He came after the class started. I can feel him I can hear him walking around. And I want to go say hi, see if he needs anything and if he's all set. And so I'm going to go ahead and take a 10-minute break. So we'll be back at 10:50.
Sorry, a quick question.
Yep.
It's Vivian. Hi.
Were
we not doing some critique today?
Oh, what do you mean?
I mean, were you skipping some people today?
Oh yeah, so I did the last half of the class last week, and I did the front half because otherwise, that took us an hour and a half to half.
All right, great.
Yeah, if anybody really has some, really dire questions, if you don't mind, Vivian, kind of hanging out, towards the end or at the end a little bit, I can definitely see if I can answer some questions quickly. Yeah, you got a lot of nice new work. Holy cow. Busy, you guys. Wow. All right.
right,
Yeah, lovely
great.
stuff, Vivian. Sorry we didn't get to it. Yeah,
No,
it's just
that's
a big
okay. I
enough.
just didn't know what the plan was. That's,
Yeah, and I'm still trying to figure out how to give feedback and critiques in a timely manner without taking, because again, when you guys at the end of the semester, when everybody writes up the reviews, my one review that I get consistently is too much time critiquing, and not enough time with the demos or whatever, or Mike talks too much, which I'm never going to stop. You can't get me to
oh,
stop.
you do great. Don't worry.
What? Who
Okay.
would say that about you?
I'm
God.
just kidding. My mom. always likes
Not your mom. It's not me when I write a review.
to-
Michael,
Okay.
I just wanted to say, I didn't want you to critique mine today.